This hour of the Costa Report is brought to you by IBM. Big data at the speed of business.
Welcome to the Costa Report. I'm Rebecca Costa, and thank you for joining me for another 2 hours of Straight Talk Radio. I want to welcome members of our armed forces, especially those of you serving abroad and are joining us over the internet today. I can't tell you how much your emails, letters, and cards mean to me, and I want to assure you that it is really me and not some surrogate or assistant that is answering your correspondence. It's one of my great privileges to hear from our listeners. And I also want to take a moment to welcome new listeners who are finding us on top radio stations in all 50 states. Thank you for making us part of your news week. In just a moment, Paul McDonald, Senior Director at one of the world's largest staffing firms, Robert Half, will be joining us. Robert Half released its 2018 salary guide, which offers salary ranges for professional occupations and discloses the key drivers which cause employees to accept new jobs. Sure, compensation and benefits are important, but you might be surprised at some of the other criteria today's workers look at before taking a new position. But before Mr. McDonald joins us, as is my custom each week, let me tell you a little about his background. Paul McDonald is a graduate of St. Bonaventure University in New York. He worked as a senior auditor for Price Waterhouse prior to joining Robert Half International's Boston office as a recruiter in 1984. By 2000, McDonald had worked his way up to senior director of Robert Half Management Resources, and by 2012, senior executive director of Robert Half, a role he serves today. Mr. McDonald oversees all partnerships, strategic alliances, and acts as the chief spokesperson for the company, providing commentary for the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Associated Press, CBS, NBC, and other news outlets. I want to also add that in 2006, McDonald authored Effective Recruitment and Retention Strategies, which became a landmark book for the human resources industry at large. It's my pleasure to welcome to the Costa Report Senior Executive Director for Robert Half, Mr. Paul McDonald. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, and delighted to be here. Thank you.
I mentioned the much-anticipated 2018 salary guide goes far beyond salaries, but also delves into factors that people consider when they change jobs, industries, or work environments. What are some of those considerations?
It's interesting right now, Rebecca. The job market, based on my intro, you can tell that what demographic I'm in. I'm a baby boomer, so I've been through a few cycles in the economy. Right now, we're in one of those cycles for the professionals in which we serve, where unemployment is relatively low. We serve accounting, finance, technology, creative individuals, legal, and some of the highly specialized administrative staff. So when we release this data, we look at the trend, and in 2018, we expect to see a very good job market for these individuals. So with broad-based unemployment at 4.4%, and for some of these professionals in which we serve, we're looking at 2 to 2.5% unemployment. So broad-based, it's a candidate-driven market. Employers have to do certain things to attract, engage, in order to retain these individuals, or they're going to go look for a new opportunity, and there's plenty of new opportunities today. So the drivers in which we pulled out, besides compensation, that's always the big one. And regardless of the economy, people have to pay their bills, they have to live, they have to, they have mortgages or rent and so forth. Benefits are very important today. I'm hearing more about individuals when they speak to our staff. They're asking not only what is the salary, but okay, what are the benefits? What's my contribution monthly to health cost, medical cost? What are the perks that are being offered? Because down the street I have an offer and I might be receiving lunch every day. That's a big expense that goes away if there's lunch or enhanced snacks. Those are just some new things that are coming about that I haven't seen in past cycles. Some people say, well, the food benefit is limited to Silicon Valley. I'm seeing it grow in popularity across the markets in which we serve. Career path is taking on a whole new meaning. With choice, these candidates have many choices, and when they're out searching for new opportunities, compensation's important, benefits are important, but then they start talking about, what is my career path? What is this job going to do for me as I look at the map that I've created, hopefully they've created. We can talk further on that, but what is it going to do to enhance my skills to make me marketable today? Is this future employer going to give me training? Are they going to invest in me, send me to seminars, allow me to study for a certification on company time? All things that are so important to these job seekers today.
Now, one of the items that showed up in your report, which I was astounded by because I know it's a big consideration for me, but I didn't realize it was such a big consideration for the job market in general, is the commute back and forth to work. Can you speak to that for a moment? Because that seems to have grabbed the attention of the Googles and Ciscos and Facebooks of Silicon Valley, who are now providing buses back and forth between San Francisco and Silicon Valley just to ease the commute.
Yes, I was just in Northern California, and I saw many of the buses from Facebook in my travels.
Yeah, but who knew that was going to be a major issue?
Yes, commute, I've been doing this since 1984. I've heard commute as being a factor for many years from many candidates. However, when the economy's down and people will take anything that they can to pay their bills and to live, so it takes on less of an issue. We're finding that with the economy for these people doing quite well, that the commute is taking on more of a decision point for them as they look for a job. Am I able to work from home one day a week? Am I able to, do you provide a bus pass? Or in the instance that you were just speaking about, is there a bus that I can ride on? How far is it from my home, and what's the time travel? Distance is one thing, but when you're talking about traffic, it's usually the time that comes into it because you can live in L.A. or San Francisco and be 10 miles from the office, and it might take you an hour and 15 minutes or so. So it's very important, this commute factor, and I hear more of it as these professionals have more choice today.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is if it's a candidate-driven market, then the candidates can be pickier and choosy, and they can not just look at salaries and benefits, but they can say, well, you know what, my quality of life matters, my cost of living, the time I spend in traffic. These things then tend to get more elevated in importance.
It most definitely does. And, the time that I can spend with my family or doing my passion outside of work. And by the way, do you allow me, is there a campus or a facility on your work environment and your workspace that allows me to develop my passion or to do what I love? And so we're finding, there's the, fitness facilities or access to a fitness facility if it's a smaller or mid-sized business. And on-site child care
has become very big.
Or I've heard, too, bring your dog to work. I laughed at that 15 years ago when I first heard it, but today it's a real benefit because, people, may not be having families, but their family might be more in a pet that they're bringing to work as opposed to a child.
Well, I have to tell you, you hit my soft spot. I'd take less money and benefits if I could bring my dog to work. So you hit me right in the soft spot there. That would have gotten me in 10 seconds. We have to take our first break, but stay where you are. We'll be right back with more from Paul McDonald. You're listening to the Costa Report.
Hi, I'm Joan London. If you're worried about your parent or loved one living alone, like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service.
Finding an apartment that was on the courtyard with the view of the trees, the view of the ducks, the stream, the creek, all of that, that was what I needed.
You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information. Here's the number.
To speak with a local senior living advisor, call A Place for Mom at 800-451-2976. That's 800-451-2976.
A Place for Mom is a free service, and you can trust them to help you. So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
To speak with a local senior living advisor, call A Place for Mom at 800-451-2976. That's 800-451-2976.
Like a lot of women I know, I am a big fan of a clean-shaven man. But not just any shave. It has to be a close, fresh shave. The kind of shave us ladies like to get near. In other words, a hairy shave. 3 million men have switched to Harry's because you can't get a better shave for the price. That's because Harry's razors are shipped from a factory that has been making precision blades for over 100 years direct to you with no middleman. But you don't have to take my word for it. Harry's is so sure you'll never use another razor again. They're offering a trial shave kit for free. The kit includes an ergonomic razor handle, 5 precision blades, shave gel, and a travel blade cover. To get your free trial shaving kit, just go to harrys.com/Costa. That's harrys.com/Costa. And find out why a Harry's razor makes all the difference.
Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. At 6 a.m., I make his breakfast. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. At 6 a.m., I make his breakfast. At 7 a.m., I shower. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. At 6 a.m., I make his breakfast. At 7 a.m., I shower. I start laundry at 8. At 10, we go for a walk. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers for advice, tips, and support. Together, let's help each other better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
I am done with my mattress. That's right. I'm not spending another night on this old bag. My new mattress comes today, and this thing is out of here. Bye-bye, mattress.
Yep. Bye-bye, mattress. So says you and about 1,000 other people every day. And that's a lot of old mattresses with no place to go. There's the landfill, of course, where they just take up space. But what a waste. Because you could send it to a mattress recycler, where old mattresses get broken down into steel, foam, wood, and fiber that become new steel, carpet padding, home insulation, garden mulch, biomass fuel, locomotive oil filters, and all kinds of other great stuff. So bye-bye mattress is right. But don't toss it. Recycle it. It's easy. And it's free. To find a mattress recycler in your area, visit buybuymattress.com.
Welcome back to the Costa Report. I'm Rebecca Costa, and my guest today is Senior Executive Director of Robert Half, Mr. Paul McDonald. And we've been talking about the 2018 salary guide. And another one of the considerations that job candidates take into account is the impact to their overall cost of living when they make a job change. Along these lines, what kind of perks do employers offer today to new hires who are moving into areas where the price of housing, taxes, and just life in general is much higher?
Well, the cost of living is a huge factor for the job seeker on trying to determine, should I go or should I stay? Again, if they're moving to a low-cost area, there's other factors involved. I'm potentially leaving family. I'm moving to the Midwest. I'm from the East or West Coast. But many of those organizations that are in those areas, for instance, in the Midwest, and they're seeking a candidate with skill set, for instance, maybe it's a cybersecurity expert, one of the hottest professions out there right now. There's not a day that goes by that you don't hear about a cyber attack attempt or someone that did breach the firewalls of organizations. So those Midwestern firms have to sweeten the pot. So maybe they pay above average compensation. They package together the housing allowance, which is going to, it could be just moving household goods. It could be temporary housing that brings someone on board. If it's a senior enough role, then they talk about, temporary living quarters for the family, or for, in a permanent type of arrangement, permanent type of a house as opposed to an apartment. And all these factors come into play. And then if you happen to be in a state where there's low income tax, the savvy employer is going to put together a good analysis for that job seeker to show the net gain by moving from, for instance, a New York or a D.C. or Los Angeles to, for instance, Kansas City or Omaha. And, and then they talk about, what other benefits might be available to you. We spoke about perks earlier. It could be stock. It could be stock options. For more of the staff, it could be, your lower, as I mentioned, lower cost of contribution to your medical and health. All big things when it comes into the net pay that you're going to have at the end of the month and at the end of the year after state and federal income taxes are taken out. So it's a simple analysis, but it takes time. And many individuals that are job seekers aren't, they're getting more savvy when it comes to the analysis, but they don't all understand. So the good HR department is laying that all out and spending a lot of time explaining what those benefits look like, again, net at the end of the month and end of the year.
Right. Now, you mentioned people working in cybersecurity specifically, that's a big hot market right now. What do you forecast as other hot markets for professionals? Particularly, many of us have children in college, and, they're trying to figure out what degree or what professions to go into. What kind of advice can you give parents that might want to advise or steer their kids in a certain direction? Not that it works ever, but...
Well, exactly, and it's first of all, I would say to the student that's thinking about going to university, or for someone who's in university thinking about changing their majors, areas that are really hot and have been for the past few years. I entered accounting because I knew I graduated university in 1980. It wasn't a great economy in the late 70s and in 1980. But I knew that if I performed well in school, I was going to get a job in accounting. I happened to be picked up by one of the international CPA firms, Pricewaterhouse. I studied hard, but I was given advice by multiple sources. And that was at home. I had a CPA at home as a dad, but I also had I had a job that I was a caddy at a golf club, and I would listen. I would just take it in on what did these gentlemen do? What were they? Because I was always out carrying the bags for the men. Today it would, it might be men and women. I don't know, but I just listened, and that led me to accounting. Today, accounting is a great profession, and it looks to be strong. Next year, all the regulatory and compliance that organizations have to abide to. There's internal audit. Good internal audit is a great profession. You can go to the Institute of Internal Auditors and look at how many careers and career paths are available for internal auditors, namely forensic accounting. Very interesting. Technology. Technology has been growing regardless of the economy. The investment in technology has been growing by leaps and bounds for the past decade, and even before that. But I looked at it in 2007 and then through the downturn. Even though the economy, employment-wise, was not great, when you looked at the tech sector, all companies were investing in technology if they had the wherewithal to stay ahead of the curve on this. So
and how about people? So there might be some people listening today who are thinking about switching careers. Midstream. They started down one area and they've discovered, well, that job market is no longer or is diminishing, and they want to go get retrained, because we talk a lot about retraining on this program. They want to get retrained and start down another career. How hard is it to switch midstream?
It is hard, but it's doable.
But you have no experience on your resume. You're just kind of coming in cold. Should you expect to start at the bottom?
Well, you have to look at what's closest to what you've been trained to do, and what would you need to gain in order to parlay into another career path. So, for instance, say you're a paralegal, but you have great technology skills. And I'm not saying that paralegal is not a good place to be today, but you just want to switch. But your technology skills, in Excel, database management, things of that nature, you just happen to have a passion for that. And you also, on your spare time, have done some web design, web page for individuals. You could take a few courses, keep your consulting work if that's what you're doing on paralegal, and then study at night, online courses available to you. Maybe go to the community college, junior college, and take a course, and then parlay that in. Now, are you going to get the same income as you are as a paralegal? Probably not, but it allows you to switch, and then, as I've always said, have a career map. If you're going to switch, make sure you have a path forward, and that's where you can consult with others that have done this ahead of you.
That is fantastic advice, and I love the idea of looking at the job you're performing now and seeing if there are some skills you can leverage into your next career. Fantastic advice. We have to take another scheduled intermission, but stay tuned. We'll be right back after these important messages from our sponsors. You're listening to the Costa Report. I'm here today with Scott Caraccioli of Caraccioli Cellars, whose Brut Cuvée is winning wine awards faster than we can name them. What is it about Caraccioli's Brut Cuvée that sets it apart from others?
I really think it comes down to both process and the fruit. We're in an ideal location to grow Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and being able to harvest that at optimal pick points in Monterey County, where you have a climate and soils that produce these grapes in the best way possible. Pulling them earlier on, you still get a lot of fruit expression, but you get a lot of acidity, which gives you the opportunity to make killer sparkling wine. And our Brut, being our flagship wine, has everything that's possible when it comes to sparkling wine. You can order any of our products directly from us by visiting our website at caraccioliCellars.com or calling the tasting room directly, 831-622-7722.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, I had one thing on my mind. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball every chance I could. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. I'm Paul George. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke F-A-S-T. Fast. Life is why. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Women Women now make up 37% of the workforce, changing their role forever.
Harvard Medical School has now opened its doors to new female applicants.
The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women.
We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops, the rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Psst. Yeah, it's me, your heart. Listen to me. We've got to talk. High blood pressure is serious, and yours? Whoa. What happened to us? We used to be so much more active. But lately you've been ignoring me. I know you think I'm just gonna keep ticking away forever, but you're wrong. You can do so much more to control your high blood pressure. Doing the minimum isn't doing enough. I'm under a lot of pressure and can quit whenever I want. Bet you didn't know that. But I like my job. Just treat me better. Check on me. Give me something green to nibble on every once in a while. And maybe we can do some exercise on occasion. Let's get to it. After all, we're in this together.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Costa Report. I'm Rebecca Costa, and if you're just joining us, my guest today is Paul McDonald, Senior Executive Director at Robert Half. And before the break, we were talking about folks who might be looking to change careers because the industry they're in is either on the decline or maybe they just want to try something different. And I believe you were pointing out that you really do need to create a clear roadmap on how you're going to get from A to B, including a realistic assessment of whether you may have to take an initial pay cut. Is that right?
That's exactly right, Rebecca. And I want to key in on the word that you just said, 2 words, realistic assessment. There's many times people come in, and I've met with them, and now I'm meeting, I think, with not only the second generation, but sometimes the third generation of job seeker from the same family. And, they've heard that there's a hot market. For instance, I mentioned cybersecurity. And they have no technology skill set whatsoever. They're not a graduate from a STEM a university that has, a good math underpinning or science underpinning, that would allow them to work in the computer field to begin with. But they think that they should be a data scientist making $180,000 a year because they had a roommate that just got that job. And that roommate was 3 or 4 years ago. So they're switching from their degree, which might be philosophy or a liberal art, which is all well and good, but they think that they, since they know this person, they should be, making that type of money in a hot area like cybersecurity. So with all seriousness, I would say everybody should do a good career assessment. If they have aspirations, sit down, draw out a map, set your goals, work with a mentor, a professional mentor, someone that you may have been a graduate from your school or somebody in a profession in which you've met through your networking, someone that can give you some advice and who's been there. It's usually not a family member. If you're lucky enough to have a family member who's objective, that's great. But most of the time it's somebody that you've met at a networking event, someone that was on campus before you. sit with them.
People are a little bit gun shy about reaching out for a mentorship. I have to tell you, I speak at a lot of college campuses and I go to a lot of conferences as a keynote speaker. And, people will come up and say, I wonder if I could get in touch with you. I wonder if I could ask for your advice. And my answer is always yes. And they seem surprised. They said, I was afraid to ask you. I didn't think you'd say yes. And, my advice to people is ask. Ask.
Well, there's no doubt. I do the same thing. I speak at a lot of events. There's an organization for finance and accounting students that I'm part of, Beta Alpha Psi, and I'm a partner with this. They come up, and most of those students that do come up to me will contact me. Very few will contact me 2 or 3 times. The first time, yes, might be through LinkedIn.
Isn't that surprising?
It is. And I think that therein lies the generational differences. We had to network as boomers and some early Gen Xers because there wasn't the technology to rely on. We were used to going to an evening event or a morning event and shaking hands and saying hello and meeting new people. Today, the digital native can sit behind the computer. So I coach all the time. Get out from behind the computer, go to networking events, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, know your elevator pitch. Who are you? What are you about? What are you studying? What do you want to do? And there's a great article that I was interviewed for as a 30-second elevator pitch. And it's out there in the internet domains on the web pages. And if you can find that, there's 7 steps of how to develop an elevator pitch, but just get out from behind the computer and into the public area and into the trade groups in the meetings where you're going to meet these people that could be mentors and give you advice. And that's how we all learn.
That's exactly right. My dad gave me similar advice when I had just gotten out of college, and he said, the more people you meet, the luckier you get. I mean, he was kind of a down-home, very simple-spoken guy, but he said the more people you meet, the luckier you'll get. And by golly, he was right. I would go to the conferences and I would present myself well, and and it would lead to very unexpected opportunities for me. And I do encourage people not to rely too much on your technology devices, because at the end of the day, they are hiring a human being. They're not hiring a text address. You really have to really get out there and meet people. Was there anything, very quickly, in the 2018 salary guidelines that just jumped out and was an unexpected change or a trend that you saw? I
think Rebecca, the trend that continues is that candidates, job seekers today are looking at culture. The culture of the organization in which they're potentially going to join. They're looking at that culture more today than maybe they were a decade ago. It's like, and that I think comes back to the millennial generation looks for socially responsible companies. Green initiatives are extremely important. What is the cause and purpose of this organization? How do I fit into this organization? And do I get that? Do I get a good feeling? Do I get a good cultural feeling from everyone that I'm meeting with? Not just the environment that I'm working in, what's my workspace look like? That's not it. It's more of how does everyone interact, and is this a place I could really see myself thriving in? That cultural aspect is a trend that we see continuing in the coming year.
I believe that. I think having a compatibility of mission is really important for sustaining employees. You have to have some similar beliefs about the world. And I think it makes a big difference, because if you don't, you might get a better salary, but how long will you be happy at that particular location? I'm sorry. We're just about out of time, but I hope you'll come back and talk about this subject again. I know everybody's ears around the station are perked up and saying, wow, I didn't know that. Maybe I should ask for more benefits. I think I've opened Pandora's box here. But I want to thank you for making time to speak with us today. Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And that is all the time that we have left. We've been talking today about what it takes to find the right people and to keep the right people. And I want to tell you how proud I am of the producers of the Costa Report who work tirelessly looking for sponsors of this program who believe in their products so much that they're willing to allow our listeners to try out those products at no cost, because there's nothing better than a company that says, we're going to stand by our products so much that we're willing to give them out for free. But before we accept any new sponsors, I want you to know they have to pass the Rebecca Costa test. I have to try out that product for myself before I'm willing to tell my listeners about it. But in this particular case, I turned to my son, Matthew, to test the product. Now, what I'm about to tell you is a true story, for those of you wondering. The other day, Matthew, who you've heard me talk about on this program before, stopped by on his way to work, and I noticed there was something different about him. These are things a mother notices. He looked refreshed and groomed and healthy. He had a little sparkle, and I just had to ask. And what he said took me by complete surprise. He said, I started using the Harry's razors you got me. I use them every day now, Mom. Now, the reason I'm sharing this story with you is because there really are some things you can't tell a person about, like the smooth glide and the ultra close shave you get with a Harry's 5-blade razor. These are things that you have got to experience firsthand. But once you do, you're going to join Matthew and over 3 million people who have switched to a Harry's razor. In fact, Harry's is so confident you'll love the feel and look of your new shave, they're offering listeners of the Costa Report a free trial. Just go to harrys.com/Costa to get your free kit. That's harrys.com/Costa to get your free shaving kit. We have to take another short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Costa Report.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-962-6969. 800-962-6969.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-962-6969. 800-962-6969. 800-962-6969.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by, making minimum payments? You should know the credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan. You have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Reduce a large portion of your debt now. Call National Debt Relief at 800-314-7417. 800-314-7417. That's 800-314-7417.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Hey, America. We need to have a little talk. I don't know if you've noticed, but we got a lot of food in this country. A lot of peaches, a lot of corn, a lot of apples, a lot of everything. We've got so much food that we can't even eat it all. So if we got all this extra food, how are 17 million kids in America struggling with hunger? I just don't get it. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and gets it to the hungry kids who need it. They can get you food even if you live in Idaho or Alaska or somewhere crazy like that. This isn't complicated. We got extra food and we've got hungry kids. Feeding America's done the math. Now it's your turn. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. I know you got internet on your phone, so what are you waiting for? We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Costa Report. I'm Rebecca Costa, and if you're just joining us, we have been speaking with the Senior Executive Director of the first and the largest professional staffing firm in the world, Mr. Paul McDonald of Robert Half. And as you heard, they have just issued their 2018 salary guide, which contains some enlightening research about the factors that drive people's decisions when it comes to accepting a new job. Now, not surprisingly, salary is still king. And by salary, I also mean an entire benefits package rolled into what you're paid. It's the total sum of all of it that carries the greatest weight when it comes to changing jobs. But here's what's interesting. Once we get past salaries and benefits, things really change up for each individual. The second biggest consideration seems to be the cost of living, which, when you think about it, makes perfect sense because it doesn't do any good to make more money if you have to spend more to live. And in places like Silicon Valley or Boston, where there are high-paying tech jobs galore, you can bet the cost of living will quickly chew up any gains in salary, from higher taxes, home and rental prices, to even the price of gasoline. It doesn't take long to realize there's a reason that companies pay more in these areas. They have to. And not surprisingly, companies located in remote rural areas where there's no other job opportunities, they often pay more to attract candidates as well. The third consideration professionals take into account when they're accepting a new job is whether there is a clear career path. Employees today ask different questions than, 10, 20, 30 years ago. They ask detailed questions about the chances for advancement. They want to know whether a company promotes from within or is more likely to go outside the company. This matters. And another thing they want to know is whether there's more than one ladder or pathway upward, and what kind of training, education, and investment a company is willing to make in their employees. No one wants to accept a job that leads to a cul-de-sac. Number 4 on the list of considerations for accepting a new job, behind salary, cost of living, and whether a company promotes from within and invests in their employees, is something most employers never consider when they extend an offer to a prospective candidate. And that is the commute to work. More and more people want to work closer to home. So they're on the hunt for companies which are closer to where they live. Or they want to telecommute at least one day a week, maybe 2 days a week. Or at the very least, they're looking for opportunities where they can have flexible hours and not have to sit in traffic each and every day. I live near the town of Portland, Oregon. And while you would not think Portland has the same congestion that Los Angeles or New York or Chicago does, well, you just ask anyone who has to commute into downtown Portland during morning and afternoon drive time. I easily, without batting an eye, add 1 hour and often more to my commute to the radio station twice a day, going in and leaving. And that is only if there are no stalls or accidents and the weather's decent. Now, if I were a smart woman, I would look for a studio close to my home, or I would set up a home studio. Well, certainly the technology exists today to do that. But I have such an incredibly talented engineering and production staff here. There's just no way to produce the kind of quality that we do week after week without surrendering to a miserable commute into Portland. And lastly, professionals looking to change jobs are concerned with the reputation of where they work and whether the people there enjoy working there. You might think that whether a job was enjoyable or not would be the first priority. But when it comes to choosing a new job, a bigger salary and benefits package with room to grow makes it possible to put up with a lot of unhappiness. What you don't want is a low salary and unhappiness and a long commute and no career path. If you're checking off those things, folks, start working on your resume. After all, we are working for a living. We are not living to work. When you have a balanced life, you have friends and loved ones, you develop a rich life that's separate from your work. And while you might not enjoy every minute or aspect of the work you do, well, it's how you handle it that separates professionals from amateurs and troublemakers. Professionals make the most out of the best parts of their job and put up with the worst parts. Whereas people who don't know what professionalism means incessantly whine about what they don't like, and worst of all, they recruit others to join them in their disappointment and angst. There is an unspoken code of conduct amongst professionals, and that is not to dwell on what's not working, but instead focus on what is working and make the most out of that. So here's a bit of advice for anyone who's not happy in their current job. If you're unhappy with where you are and what you're doing, leave that place. Don't recruit others to your bad attitude just because you don't have the backbone to find something else to do. Be a professional. Make a plan to find something and somewhere that you'd rather do and be, and then execute on your plan. In other words, adopt the same credo physicians follow. Commit first and foremost to do no harm. Appreciate the opportunities you've been given, and then take stock of the salary, cost of living, career path, commute, corporate culture that you desire, and then go for it. That's one of the beautiful things about living in a free country like America. No one is standing in your way. No one is stopping you. Stop complaining. Stop recruiting. Move on. Your present employer will thank you. And on that note, much of what we've been talking about today has been the importance of being the right person for the job, whether that job is in government or an entry-level position in a small company. We're all familiar with what happens when employers settle for an individual who does not have the experience or the qualifications that are needed. But what if hiring could be made easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming? Even when you're busy, you can still be smart about the way you hire, and that is where ZipRecruiter comes in. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click. Then powerful technology matches the right person to the job, and everyone knows that if there's a way to post a job just one time and have it appear on 100 job sites, how much time that saves and just how much you increase the odds of locating that perfect candidate for your opening. This is why ZipRecruiter is different and used by thousands of businesses, small and large. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It goes out and finds them. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter locate a qualified candidate in just one day. Imagine that, one day. So ZipRecruiter is not only thorough, it's also fast. No more juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Rebecca, REBECCA. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Rebecca. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And that just about wraps up our first hour. If your station's leaving us after this first hour, I want to take an opportunity to remind you how to get your hands on my new book titled On the Verge, because it just hit the number one new release on Amazon, thanks to all of the listeners that went out and got the book right away. I want you to be prepared for what is headed our way. And the only way I can do that, I can't do that on this radio program. It's not a long enough format, but I can do it in a book. So I'd like you to go out and get On the Verge. You can get it online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any online book site, and at your local neighborhood bookstore. And if they don't have it, they can easily get their hands on it. So the name of the book is On the Verge, by me, Rebecca Costa. You can look it up online on any search engine and find it. Make sure you get your hands on a first edition copy. They're going to be publishing a second edition very, very shortly here, and I want to be sure that you get a first edition copy. Take a moment, jump on your cell phone, your tablet, and get On the Verge today. Now stay tuned for another hour of the Costa Report. Listen up, because I want to let you in on a little secret. You don't have to be a psychic to know which business and political experts are going to be on the Costa Report next month. All you have to do is sign up for our free monthly newsletter at RebeccaCosta.com. It takes less than a minute, and when you do, you'll receive our guest schedule along with special announcements and free offers the first of every month. So go to RebeccaCosta.com and sign up today.
Yesterday, I got a call from the IRS. They say I owe them over $16,000. I don't have that kind of money.
Don't try to fight the IRS on your own. Use Coast One Financial Group and let them help you get a fresh start. If you owe at least $10,000 in back taxes, call now for a free and confidential tax debt analysis. Call Coast One now for a free consultation at 800-643-4661 now. 800-643-4661. That's 800-643-4661.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. I improved my credit score.
You're kidding, right?
No.
How are we supposed to be the bad boys of electro-synth pop if you're out there being responsible? The band is about to be discovered. This is our year.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a while now.
You think anyone in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was worried about their credit score?
I never really thought that.
Of course they weren't. Rock stars aren't supposed to think about that kind of stuff. We're supposed to think about how many guitars we've smashed, write aggressively sensitive power ballads, start questionable fashion trends, tragically break up and blame creative differences.
All right. I thought maybe it was time to take control of my finances, you know? Start using a budget. Get out of debt. Set some goals.
A budget? Debt? Set some goals? Listen, I knew that we'd have our creative differences, but I was hoping they'd involve a little more scandal.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
The Costa Report is now heard in all 50 states on fine radio stations, including this one.